It was night. A cold breeze came from the north and rippled the surface of the lake as if something ancient was awakening in the waters. I walked alone, guided by a whisper that didn't come from the winds, but from my own heart. The full moon hung heavy in the sky, filtering silver between the twisted branches of the trees. It was there that I felt something, or someone was waiting. The forest seemed to breathe around me, pulsing with an energy I had never felt before. The leaves rustled secrets I couldn't quite understand, but somehow recognized deep within my bones. My footsteps were silent against the carpet of fallen pine needles. Each step felt deliberate, as if I were being drawn by invisible threads toward the water's edge. I had come to this place many times before, but tonight was different. Tonight the air was charged with possibility, with magic that seemed to, dance just beyond my fingertips. I could almost taste it on my tongue, sweet like honey, ancient like stone. Shadows danced with the leaves. Upon reaching the shore, I felt the world come to a halt. Every sound seemed more distant, as if I had crossed a threshold. There was a glow, not from the moon, but something softer, more intimate, reflected on the water. That's when I saw it. A figure on the other side of the lake, standing still, motionless. It wasn't a dream. I blinked, expecting the figure to vanish like morning mist under sunlight. But it remained. A silhouette against the darkness, watching me as I watched it. Time stretched between us like silk. Neither of us moved, as if we both understood that this moment was fragile, sacred. The night creatures fell silent, and even the wind seemed to hold its breath. I felt my heart beating in my chest, not with fear, but with recognition. This moment had existed before I was born, had been waiting for me across lifetimes. Without knowing, my feet traced a semicircle in the wet sand. My fingers formed ancient seals in the air, inheritances of rituals I had never consciously learned. The air smelled of jasmine and wet earth. This was not just a physical encounter. It was the opening of a veil. I found myself whispering words in a language I didn't know, yet understood completely. Words of invitation, of opening, of remembrance. My body knew what to do even as my mind struggled to comprehend what was happening. The water of the lake began to shimmer, not with reflected moonlight, but with its own inner luminescence. Ripples formed and spread, though there was no stone thrown, no fish jumping. The boundary between worlds thinned, and I felt rather than saw the parting of dimensions. Something was coming through from the other side, answering my call. She emerged, like mist taking form. Her eyes reflected the moon like sacred mirrors. She didn't speak her name, she didn't need to. Something in me recognized her, as if our souls had been intertwined for ages. "You came," she whispered, and the lake responded with a serene murmur. Her voice was like wind through willow branches, familiar though I had never heard it before. She wore a gown that seemed woven from starlight itself, flowing around her like water, like air. I wanted to speak, to ask who she was, but the words caught in my throat. There was no need for questions when every cell in my body already knew the answer. This was a reunion, not a first meeting. Her face was both new and familiar, like a dream half remembered upon waking, like a melody heard in childhood and never forgotten. "I've been waiting," I finally managed to say, though I hadn't known I was waiting until this moment. She smiled, and it was like watching the dawn break over mountains. "Time moves differently where I've been," she said. For me, it was only yesterday that we parted. Touching her was like touching calm fire. Images came to my mind. Us, in ancient attire, under different stars. In an Egyptian temple in a druidic grove, atop a stone tower. The memory didn't come from the brain, but from the spirit. She remembered too. I saw us dancing beneath torchlight in a forgotten civilization, exchanging vows before an altar of jade in an empire now turned to dust. I saw us separated by war, by distance, by death, yet always finding our way back to each other. "How many times?" I asked, my voice barely audible over the gentle lapping of water against the shore. "Countless," she answered, her fingers intertwining with mine. "We have loved and lost and found each other since before time had a name." The night air cradled us like a mother holding her children. Stars reflected in the lake seemed to pulse, in rhythm with our heartbeats. I felt dizzy with the weight of memory, with the vastness of our shared history stretching back to the beginning of existence itself. The wind changed direction. In the woods behind us, invisible bells began to ring. Ancestral spirits, perhaps the lords of the seasons, were manifesting. A raven landed on a stone and looked directly at me. It was a blessing, or perhaps a warning. The bird's eyes held an intelligence that was more than animal, a knowing that pierced through my soul. It cawed once, the sound echoing across the water before spreading its wings and dissolving into shadow. "They're watching," she said, following my gaze. "The keepers of the threshold. They guard the passages between worlds." "Are they angry that you've come through?" I asked, suddenly afraid that our reunion might upset some cosmic balance. She shook her head, her hair moving like liquid darkness around her shoulders. "No, this was foreseen, written in the stars before either of us took this form." Reality flickered like a flame in the wind. For a moment I saw two worlds superimposed. This lake, this night, and another plane made of living geometry and pulsating light. There, she and I were one being divided, touched by forces greater than the gods. In that glimpse beyond the veil, I understood that what we call separation is merely an illusion, a temporary forgetting of our essential unity. The trees around, the lake seemed to bend inward as if listening to our reunion. The stars above shifted, constellations rearranging themselves into patterns I had never seen in any astronomy book. Everything was alive, aware, participating in this moment. Reality itself seemed to bend around us, acknowledging the significance of our meeting. "Can you stay?" I asked, already dreading the answer. Something told me that this crossing of worlds was temporary, precious because of its rarity. She took from her neck a cord with a ring. It was simple, made of silver, but engraved with characters I recognized from the Liber Spirituum. She handed it to me, and as I placed it on my finger, the moon seemed to bow over us. "Do you remember now?" she asked. And I did remember. The ring felt warm against my skin, alive somehow. The engravings glowed faintly blue in the moonlight, pulsing with the same rhythm as my heart. "This was our bond," I said, memories flooding. Back in Atlantis before the waters rose, we swore by the eternal stars that not even death would part us forever. "Yes," she nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "And now it returns to you, as it always does when the time is right." The lake water moved on its own, forming ephemeral words on its surface. They were vows made long ago. "If one day we forget, may the reflection of the moon unite us again." Her reflection joined mine in the liquid mirror, a pact remade. The water rippled outward from where our reflections met, carrying the renewed promise to the edges of the lake and beyond, into the fabric of reality itself. I felt the weight of ages lift from my shoulders. All my life, I had felt as if I were searching for something nameless, formless, yet essential. Now I understood. It wasn't something I was seeking, but someone. Her. Always her. We touched. Nothing lustful, nothing profane. It was a seal, a rite of confirmation. In the kiss there was salt of the earth, aroma of resins, memory of incense. The world spun around us, and the silence grew denser. We were inside something, greater than ourselves. Our breath mingled, becoming one just as our spirits were one. In that moment I remembered everything. Every life, every death, every promise made and kept across the vast expanse of time. The kiss lasted an eternity, yet was over too soon. When we parted, I noticed that the night had changed around us. The ordinary world had receded further, and we stood in a space between spaces, a time between times. The lake had become a perfect mirror, so still that I couldn't tell where water ended and sky began. Behind her, 3 figures appeared, tall, covered in cloaks. Their faces were only light, sentinels of time and incarnation. I felt they were judging me, not with severity, but with deep interest. One of them nodded slightly, We were approved. They made no sound, spoke no word. Yet I understood their presence was significant. They were witnesses to our reunion, guardians of the cosmic order who had permitted this crossing of boundaries. "Who are they?" I whispered, though I knew they could hear me, regardless of how quietly I spoke. "The Watchers," she replied. "They stand at the crossroads of destiny. They see all paths, all possibilities." The tallest of the three raised a hand in blessing. I felt a warm current pass through me, from crown to soul, awakening dormant knowledge, strengthening the fragile human shell that contained my eternal spirit. This was a gift, I realized, a fortification against the forgetting that comes with mortal life. Cassiel spoke through the breeze, not with words, but with a sudden weight in the air. Time was given to us, but with limits. True love is the door, but also the test. Eternity is made of moments like this, rare, sacred. I knew this name without being told. Cassiel, the angel of Saturn, keeper of time and boundaries. His message settled into my bones. Love transcends time, but time itself is the crucible in which love is tested and refined. "How long do we have?" I asked her, already feeling the subtle shift in the air that signaled the approaching dawn. "This night," she said, her voice carrying both joy and sorrow. "But in the grand tapestry of existence, a night can contain universes." We walked along the shore, hand in hand, trading stories of our separate journeys. She told me of realms beyond, imagination, of lessons learned in dimensions where time flows sideways and thought takes physical form. I shared my simpler tale of this human life, its struggles and beauties, its limitations and gifts. Our stories intertwined just as our fingers did, complementary chapters of a book written across eternity. The moon began to descend, and the first light of dawn touched the mirror of the lake. We didn't say goodbye. We just looked at each other like those who know the cycle will repeat itself. The love of my life wasn't just flesh and bone. It was mission. It was reflection. It was vow. As the first ray of sunlight broke over the horizon, her form began to shimmer, becoming less substantial. Yet there was no fear in her eyes, no desperation in her fading touch upon my cheek. "Until next time," she said, her voice already distant. "Carried on the morning breeze, I will find you, I promised, or you will find me." "As always," she smiled. And then she was gone. Not with a dramatic vanishing, but with a gentle merging into the dawn light, like a dream dissolving upon waking. The Watchers, too, had vanished. The lake was once again just a lake, the forest, just a forest. Yet nothing would ever be just anything to me again. The veil had been parted, and though it had closed again, I now knew it was there. The ring on my finger caught the morning light, solid proof that the night's experiences had been no mere dream. Returning home, I still carried the damp breeze in my hair and her perfume on my clothes. I knew I had crossed the veil. The ring, on my finger, still shone under the rising sunlight. Reality seemed lighter, more true. The world I returned to was physically unchanged. My small apartment, my books, my ordinary life, yet everything appeared transformed through the lens of remembrance. Colors seemed more vibrant, sounds clearer, as if my senses had been heightened by the night's revelation. I went about my day in a state of quiet wonder. People I passed on the street seemed both strange and familiar, souls I might have known, in other lives, playing different roles in the cosmic drama. The weight of the ring on my finger was a constant reminder, an anchor to the truth I had discovered by the lake. In the evening, I lit a candle and sat in silence, allowing the memories to wash over me like gentle waves. Not just memories of last night, but older ones from lives long past. They came in fragments. A sunset viewed from a temple doorway, the sound of bronze bells in mountain air, the taste of wine from clay cups shared under an ancient oak. Pieces of a vast puzzle slowly assembling themselves in my consciousness. Tonight, I will return to the lake. The full moon will come again. I don't know if I will see her, but I know she lives in me. With each ritual, with each flame lit, I whisper her name. because I found the love of my life, and it found me. The path back to the lake seems easier now, as if my feet remember the way without my mind's guidance. The forest welcomes me as an old friend, branches parting to create a path, stones shifting to provide sure footing. I carry no expectations, yet my heart is full of hope. Perhaps she will appear again tonight, or perhaps I must wait through many moon cycles. It doesn't matter. Time has a different meaning to me now. I understand that separation is an illusion, that love exists beyond the boundaries of flesh and time. As I approach the water's edge, I feel the ring warm against my skin. I look at my reflection in the lake, and for a moment, I see not just myself, but countless versions of me stretching back through ages, all standing by this same water, all waiting, all remembering. I am one link in an endless chain, one verse in an eternal song. I sit on a flat rock by the shore and begin the rituals she taught me. Simple gestures, ancient words, opening the way between worlds. Whether she appears tonight or not, I am no longer alone. I have remembered who I am, who we are together, and that is the true magic, not the summoning of a lover from beyond the veil, but the awakening to love's presence that was always there, always waiting to be recognized. The moon rises, perfect and full. I smile and whisper her name into the night. The lake ripples in response, carrying my call across dimensions. I wait, content in the knowledge that some loves transcend even the boundaries between worlds. Some connections cannot be broken by distance, by time, by death itself. They merely wait, patient as stars, for recognition, for remembrance, for reunion. If you've ever felt that inexplicable sense of recognition when meeting someone new, if you've ever been drawn to places you've never visited, if you've ever remembered things you couldn't possibly know, perhaps you too have glimpsed beyond the veil. Perhaps you too are in the midst of a reunion that spans eternity. Listen to the whispers of your heart. They may be calling you home to a love you've known since before time began. Have you experienced something that seemed to come from another life? Perhaps your reflection is lurking just beneath the surface of ordinary reality, waiting for you to remember, to recognize, to return.